These NBA playoffs have been, which adjective would you like us to use? I like flaming hot dumpster fire. They've been bad. They've been bad, and there's no way to even argue anything against it. But the only thing I'm holding out for in the NBA playoffs is a great NBA Finals. And of course, there's been some polls that have gone across Twitter. I think I've seen Corzamba put up one recently saying, would you rather have terrible playoffs, great finals, or great playoffs, terrible finals? I mean, ideally, we want both. And it wasn't even that long ago that we had that great Blazers-Rockets series. Was that 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago? We had a whole weekend of Game 7s that same year between... that was the Blazers-Rockets year where Lillard hit the game-winning three in Portland, and LaMarcus Aldridge was still on the Blazers at that point. There was a 7-game series that won 7 with the Spurs that year. I think, God, it doesn't feel that long ago, but I think that might have been the 2014 Heat year where they lost in 5 to the Spurs. Off the top of my head, so I think that's the year. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments section. It's been brutally bad, and it's gotten to the point also in the conference finals where it's not even competitive basketball. What really sucks, I think, the most is the Kawhi Leonard injury and Zaza's dirty play, because that would have been, I think, a great series with Kawhi on the floor, and instead it's just blowout after blowout. In the Celtics case, the Cavs are on another level. And when we were doing the Celtics-Wizards series, I thought going into Game 7 that the Wizards would have been able to keep some of these games slightly closer, but don't fool yourself into thinking that they would have been really competitive in the end, maybe at least for a half. But what was the best meme I saw for the Celtics, the 50-point blowout was, and this is before, and I'm putting it up I think at 3 o'clock. I'm shooting around noon, California time. This is before the tip-off for the Celtics-Cavs. So for all I know, the game tonight is truly phenomenal. We get a battle. Or it's mollywop sweep or Cavs in 3, whatever you want to call it, and they're back on their home court. So the best meme was the Space Jam meme. It was like the Monstars were up 66-18, I think, at halftime in Space Jam, and the Cavs were up 72-31. And it's hilarious because it's like Isaiah Thomas said, they're not the Monstars, which is true. They're not the Monstars, but I mean, I can't even argue it. I love watching basketball. That doesn't change. And I like watching greatness. I like watching LeBron James play. I like watching Durant, Curry, and the Warriors play ball. But there's no justification. There's no argument that you can be making that you've enjoyed these playoffs, aside if you're unless you're like a diehard Warriors fan or you're a diehard Cavs fan, then you just have it made heading to the finals. But so the question then becomes, would you rather have a great finals? Because I remember back when the Lakers were dominating in the early 2000s, the Shaq Kobe era, and you would get a decent playoff run, but the Lakers swept through in that side of the Western Conference, and the Nets were playing pretty good basketball at that point, and with Jason Kidd, Richard Jefferson, and Kenyon Martin, and then they got to the finals, and the finals would be a sweep. Like the Spurs blew out the Nets, the Lakers blew out the Nets, and I think it was back-to-back years. So I think I'd rather have a great finals and a bad playoffs to go with it. And again, of course, ideally, we want both. All right, let's clear the air on one thing before we get more into why these playoffs are brutal and what to, I guess, look out for in the next couple games of the series. The Leahy Ball video. I read your comments. Of course I read your comments. And I understand absolutely where you guys are coming from. I absolutely should have included in that video Christine Leahy's remarks, words, disrespecting LeVar Ball and his parenting, which she was completely overstepping. I agree with you there 100%. And her speculation on Lonzo and her father and everything that goes with that. I thought, in the end, this was handled very poorly by Coward, by LeVar, and by Leahy. And I also think that, yes, if you're going to be disrespectful to LeVar Ball, regardless my feelings about LeVar Ball, then he is, of course, in the right to not give her the respect back. You have to give respect to earn respect. I have believed that my whole life. So that should have been included. that I didn't include that, which is my mistake. However, I still think what he said was disrespectful, but not in a sexist way and not in a threatening way. And I thought I explained that in the video when I was saying that people are over, what was the word I used? God, I can't even remember the word I used from 2 days ago. I thought that people were blowing it out of proportion, that he was threatening her. It wasn't a threat. And I was saying, in the terms of him being a threat, it has to come from a position of power, which I don't think LeVar Ball had. So it shouldn't be taken as a threat, and I didn't think it was sexist. So yes, it is as wrong, if not more wrong, that Leahy was trying to play the victim card here, and I thought even worse than all of that was, and I explained that in the video too, was Cowherd's justification for what was newsworthy about it. So a complete shit show overall, badly handled by everybody involved, and still, at this point, you got to look at the reaction. So I hear you guys, all right? Don't try to make it out like I think it was the word you guys look like a white knight. Come on. I think if you've watched my videos, if you've seen my opinions, I think I'm pretty consistent on a lot of the issues that we don't necessarily talk about all the time on camera when it comes down to, of course, when politics get involved, whatever it may be. So please, don't take it as I'm defending Kristine Leahy. I could have explained it better. That is on me. But I hear you. I see your point. I've been talking to a lot of you guys on social media and Instagram. A lot of people reached out. Kindly, thank you. All right, so hopefully there's something to go with that. We can move on from there. Now, back to the playoffs. So tonight the Celtics played the Cavs. And I think it's going to be a Cavs sweep. I think we're going to have two 12-0 teams. There have been some interesting takes on Twitter. One of the guys I follow, Shane Young, who I enjoy. I like his commentary. He's written for B-Ball Breakdown before. I think he's a very smart basketball analyst. He thinks that the Cavs lose to the Warriors in 5 games or less, based on just the fact that Kevin Durant is on this team now, and how are they going to stop arguably the greatest offense we've seen in terms of like point differential, in terms of offensive net rating. And I disagree with that respectfully. I think that we're not seeing anything less than 6 games. And I say that because both these teams are very, very good at adjusting after a loss. Maybe not the Warriors when they're up 3-1, but you also have to take into account that the best player on the floor in that series is LeBron James at all times. Regardless what the Warriors put out there, the best player, outright number 1 best player, is LeBron James. But what's interesting is that I think this was also from actual B-Ball Breakdown coach Nick, was Draymond Green's defensive presence at the rim. And players in this postseason are only succeeding 42.5%. They're shooting 42.5% when they attack Draymond at the rim. And that is a remarkable number. That is a defensively outstanding statistic and one of the best you'll see from these playoffs. So then it creates that great help defense scenario where if Kyrie is going to cook Steph Curry, if Kyrie wants to cook Klay Thompson, whichever which way you want to put it, and he gets past there and Draymond's the help defense, well, many players have not succeeded. So I think there's going to be a ton of tape and breakdown analysis of these two teams when they're playing each other, but I don't think there's a blowout, or at least there's not a 50-point blowout in either direction as the final score in any of the games that lead to the NBA Finals. I could be wrong. Of course I could be wrong. I'm usually wrong more than I'm right when it comes to predictions. However, I think there's a chance that this Finals could make up for it, because you had 3 days or 2 full days between every game. It's like Monday, Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday. They put a lot of time between games. Narratives get the biggest headlines out of everything else, and we could just end up with a 7-game series, and it's a rubber match. So I want the 2 best teams in the league playing each other, because I think anybody else who would have come out of these 2 conferences, even if it was Kawhi and the Spurs, I think that it's still a different Spurs team, and there's more isolation ball, and LeBron has played them so many times, and yes, they've gotten his number in 2014, and LeBron had their number in 2013. So in the end, it's good that the Cavs and the Warriors will make this quick. At least we don't have to wait on something that would never have worked out. Like if the Celtics were to have won this series, and I can't believe I'm saying were, they're only down 2-0, and technically anything could happen, so don't think I'm crazy here. They'd get crushed by the Warriors, and vice versa. If the Rockets came out of the West, I think they'd get absolutely dominated by the Cavs. So I'm curious to see how this all breaks down in itself. But look, the playoffs have been bad. I don't think we need to be grumpy about it. I don't think we need to be all upset about it. I think that we're going to get a good finals, and then we get the MVP NBA award show hosted by none other than Drake. I wonder how much passion fruit we're going to hear at that award show. Hopefully a lot. It's a good song. So the other thing that happened with the NBA this weekend was the award finalists, and of course there's a ton of conversation about how LeBron's not one of the 4 finalists. It's a regular season award, so I get that. LeBron is always the MVP. I've said that a couple of times, but this year, of course, if you followed, I'm on Russell Westbrook bandwagon, and I think that it's between Russell Westbrook and James Harden, and probably James Harden gets it just based off team success, if I'm speaking as objectively as possible, even though I believe that Russell Westbrook is the MVP from this season. Giannis, Jokic were 2 of the most improved players that were there. I think Giannis wins this easily. His numbers across the board are the best out of those who were up for most improved player. Defensive player of the year was Kawhi, Draymond, and Rudy Gobert, I believe. I would love to see if Rudy Gobert got it, just because I think Rudy Gobert is an underrated player. And he did get an All-NBA second team, so now he's not considered underrated. He's a correctly rated player. But I would give that award to Kawhi Leonard just based off the on-court, off-course, plus-minus. I know if you talk to Andre on Twitter, and he'll agree that he'll probably disagree and say it's Draymond Green by a long shot. Again, you can't really vote wrong in that opinion, and in that aspect, all 3 players deserve to be Defensive Player of the Year. And there was one more, Rookie of the Year, which I know it's 37 games. But Joel Embiid was putting up ridiculous Wilt Chamberlain-like numbers, and just what he changed in Philadelphia, the positivity he brought, the culture shift. I just think it's bigger than the Rookie of the Year just goes to him, in my opinion, because it's bigger than just him being a rookie. His impact was that of like a veteran leader on a team, and really changed the culture of Philadelphia basketball and gave so much hope and so much to root for if you're a 76ers fan. And a very good city to root for, even though I can't stand their sports teams, because I root for the Giants, the garbage New York Mets, and the garbage New York Knicks. So, of course, I'm anti-Philadelphia sports teams, but they have a great fan base. They're very passionate. They're slightly out of their mind. I think that's it. That's a little 10-minute check-in. I wanted to obviously touch on some of those things. Oh, and Jason Tatum. I think the graphics said guard. He's a forward. He's a 6'8" forward. He's a winger. But I think I also mentioned that he's a wing in the video. Correct me if I'm wrong. Jason Tatum is not a guard. So my mistake. Happens, guys. It happens. Thank you for calling me out, though. I appreciate it. So follow me on the Twitter at JaceRubin91 and all the other good stuff, and we'll see you next time.